the new Mac Studio, the new MacBook Air, and Apple Intelligence. This is MacVoices. MacVoices is supported by our Patreon subscribers. Get access to the MacVoices Slack, the MacVoices Discord, MacVoices After Dark, and have your name listed at the end of each episode of MacVoices. Sign up at patreon.com/MacVoices. Welcome to MacVoices. This is the talk of the Apple community, and I'm Chuck Joyner. Folks, it's Tuesday night. It's MacVoices Live. We are live on YouTube at youtube.com/MacVoicesTV. If you're hearing us live, great. Welcome. Nice to have you. Thanks for being in the chat room with us. If you're hearing this in the recording, then you should mark your calendar and join us on Tuesday nights because we have a lot of fun here talking about the week's news, the week's activities, maybe the week's purchases. We'll get to that in a minute. Come on in. As always, we have a lot to get through tonight, so we're just going to dive right in and let you know who's here. Dave Ginsburg in the top left of my screen in his usual perch. Dave, good to have you.
Great to be here. It's got some good stuff to talk about this week, as it does every week. So
Absolutely.
Let's dig in.
Yeah, I'm all for digging. Speaking of digging, Marty Jencius is here. I don't know where that transition went nowhere, but you know.
Oh.
Is this a Blues Brothers thing or is this something else?
No, it's spring break, Chuck, and the students are all gone.
That's right. He's got the Hawaiian shirt on.
And the faculty get to go on their own spring break. So I've been up since 8 o'clock in the morning drinking Moscow Mules, and got a T-shirt printed up that said, "I went to Fort Lauderdale and all I got was this worthless National Science Foundation grant." And the best part is my parents are fronting the whole thing. They wrote a check to cash, and all you got to do is put an extra zero on the end, and
nice.
It's great.
Nice.
Okay. Is that check good for the bail that you're going to inevitably need?
Yeah.
I don't know. If it bounces, it's on them. But, that's what spring break is all about.
Okay, well, I'm so glad at least you put the shirt on and you weren't displaying your suntan. Thank you.
Chuck, I'm with you. I was totally thinking Blues Brothers even before you mentioned it.
Yeah, it just came out.
These are the Blues Brothers.
That's
glasses.
the Blues Brothers.
That's the Blues Brothers. Glasses.
Okay. Are you going to break into song at any given moment?
Hell no.
Beat home Chicago.
Eric Bolden is here, not nearly as crazy as his podcasting partner, but he's got another bird, and he also has a newly updated Mac.
Really, really freshly updated, like seconds ago. Today we have a chickadee, which helpfully posed earlier this afternoon. Just so I'd have a picture.
Eric, I always have to ask you now, how are you getting that picture? I mean, you're obviously not getting the chickadee to pose. So is that a DSLR picture or do you have Okay.
Yeah. Given a lot more patience, I could get closer or, get a camera kit for the back of the phone, but it was easier to put a longer lens on and just
nice lens.
Yeah.
Hey, you use what you got, right? Well, nice.
And then right after that, you can apply an effect to it so you get depth, and then you put a Vision Pro on over your head, and you get to relive the scene in 3D glory.
Nice.
Okay. Okay. There's a joke. There's a chickadee joke in there somewhere, but I don't know where
he's hinting something there.
I can't find it. Yeah, I know he's hinting something.
Just think if it's a picture of a golf course and you could see it in 3 dimensions.
Oh, no, see,
revisualize it.
Now, see, that's unfair. That's unfair. Mm,
Right when you're on the course, you can see it.
Yeah.
yeah. Jim Ray does not have to do anything fancy with his background. He just takes a screenshot, slaps it up there, and we're good to go. Jim, it's good to have you.
Thank you. It's good to be had.
Okay. Boy, I'm glad Jeff Gammett's not here for that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, sparse panel today.
Yeah, well, everybody's busy doing different things, some of which I'm just not comfortable revealing. So we're just going to leave it at that as to where, especially where Jeff is. But anyway, we're because of the timing of this, we're just a little late getting here. But I felt like we had to just touch a little bit on some of the announcements, the hardware announcements that happened last week after the show. The first of which is the new Mac Studio. And I believe, Marty, you said you have one on order already?
Got one on order. Here's the thing. I was texting with Dave about the new MacBook Airs and was kidding him saying, oh, they probably won't do the studios until the summer. And I didn't notice it because I was doing off the phone app. They really didn't promo the studio that day. And Dave was like, yeah, sure. And then I went on to check it, and sure enough, the studios were available there. So it's Dave's fault.
Blame me.
Yeah.
You blame me for, and then I blame you for the 16E here. So
Yeah.
Oh man.
I'm upgrading from an Ultra 1 to an M4 Max, and got a good price for it and a good trade-in. So,
what are you doing that you really need the Ultra? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not that rich.
Well, that too.
yeah. Forget what you do for it. It's just what you spend on it is what's important. Oh man. Before we pass right over that and ask anybody else, what configuration? I know you just said you got the Max, but how much RAM did you put in it?
Oh,
64.
That up.
I'm going to guess 64 gigs and 2 terabytes.
Yeah, the studio was 1 terabyte. I didn't go 2 terabytes because I never quite get up to 1 terabyte, 64 gig.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Nice. Anybody else partake of a new studio?
Good with my new Mac Minis. Thank you.
Okay.
I like the Mac Mini.
Me too.
Well, there's been a lot of articles about this new studio, even as late as today, talking about the benchmarking for the M3 Ultra versus the M4 Max in the studio. The just unbelievable power that these machines have. The M3 Ultra seems to be the beast to beat right now, because there is no M4 Ultra at the moment. And that's something we'll talk about as we go along. But it just, listen, do I want one? Of course I want one, but I really can't justify it. These are for pros that are really pros, that do pro things. And that means Mr. Jencius is obviously in that category.
Oh,
so
no, I'm just a pro sucker. I went ahead and bought a new one.
It's like he keeps the new MacBook Air too.
Yeah.
With the Apple stock price activities in the last couple of days, Marty, pardon me, you need to spend more money, please.
Yeah, well, I'm doing my bit.
Yeah. Anything else notable from what we've seen written about the studios, other than the fact that they've been upgraded?
The big confusion was the chip process, because the M3 Ultras using an M3 moniker for it, and then having an M4 for what is a different configuration, I think confused folks about the purchasing of it. And at one time, the big rumor was it was so hard to get M3 chips off the production line that I'm really surprised. I guess it's easier to put two of them together and then call it a M3 Ultra. But that's that's been the talk about it. Is the nomenclature they chose for it was more confusing than anything else.
And that's sort of carried over even from the M1s. That there was an M. What I don't even remember the lower ones, but there was the Max and then the Ultra,
Right.
and then I think we had that for the M2s as well, if memory serves. So it seems to be a little bit strange to have the Max be not the maximum, not the top one, but it is what it is. A rose by any other name and all that. But that wasn't the only hardware we got. We also got new MacBook Airs with an M4 chip. Ooh, I think I see another purchase. Eric, are you in the market?
I want to see the color first. I refuse to order it till I see the color, and then I'll go pick one up. But yes.
You have one currently, the MacBook Air?
No, but it's been on my list for a really long time. And, I just had a friend order one, so I figured that still counts. And then once I see the color, then I'll turn around. I'm looking for like a low end Air. I want one just to kind of sit in a bag.
That's what I did.
And then, and then with the Vision Pro, I always have a nice display. It really doesn't have to do a whole lot. I just want to use it as a terminal.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got the M3. There's no rhyme or reason for me to do it.
So, Eric, this would be a supplemental machine as opposed to a replacement machine for you.
Yes.
Okay.
Because most of the time I'm using a mini, but it's gotten to the point where it's so convenient, I don't want to unplug it from where it's located. Because originally I was thinking, I'll just carry it around when I need it, I'll unplug it, and I keep running stuff on it. So, yeah.
Would a MacBook Pro be a better choice or a more portable choice given your portable lifestyle?
I mean, it would work. I think it's just overkill for what I'm looking for. Because I've got a work machine that's a MacBook Pro. And so if I need that power, I can use it. But I have to be able to keep the work and personal stuff separate. So it doesn't have to have a lot of power. It just has to let me connect in.
Got it. Okay. Anybody else tempted by the M4 Airs?
I'm good with my M3.
Got one. I've got one on order.
You've got the Air as well on order?
Yep.
Well, come on, Apple stock. Get somebody's pay attention to Marty's.
Yeah, I
Marty's
feel
credit card.
I have to carry the load on this.
Yeah, you're doing a great job. Thank you.
I tell you.
Yeah. So let's get to something a little more current, and that is that Apple has more officially delayed the Apple Intelligence Siri features till, the debate is based on the wording, whether it's going to be later this year or into next year. And so, it feels like that this is just, again, one of those things. There are concerns about Apple falling behind. On the other hand, I don't see anybody else's phones out there that are just making me think about, well, maybe I should move over to that, as if that was even possible, given the fact that I and all of you exist in the Apple walled garden. But is this the big crisis that some outlets are trying to make it?
Well, of course. The Apple's doomed. They can't come up with. They can't come up with with the Apple Intelligence ahead of everybody else. So what are you going to do? So, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, Apple is they're perfectionists when it comes to this technology. They want it to be right. Why release something that isn't right in their eyes? But, I understand too that, people are getting a little impatient because they want it now. I mean, I've now been using ChatGPT for a while, and it does wonders. And I'd like to see what Apple comes up with. They're tapping onto ChatGPT now, but they got to have Siri be able to do things and be able to be more integrated. And right now, it's not. So.
But Dave, you said something interesting there, that it might not be up to their standards, because that seemed in at least one article.
Yeah.
That seemed to be it. It didn't seem to be that it's not working. It's just not to where they want it to be. And so they're not releasing it.
Right.
That's so Apple. And yet everybody seems to be focusing on the fact that they aren't getting it out when they said they would, they thought they would.
Yeah. Look at Microsoft.
last night on
Samsung.
Last night on Vision Profiles, Daniel made a good point. And Eric and I talked a little bit about this with Daniel. I'm not concerned that Apple Intelligence is not rolling out as fast, because it's a completely different bugger than what the other systems are doing. The other systems are, creating external links, going to sources, getting the information and put it together. Apple is using this more as and those things exist on Apple. They exist through patching through automatically to ChatGPT or whatever other types of products or apps you want to put on to do it. But Apple's really trying to build an intelligence that's built on the context of information that you have and keep it on your system. So access to your contacts, access to, mom's flight is coming in. Well, first Apple has to know who mom is. Then Apple has to know what flight she would be coming in on. So there's a lot of personal context that is trying to organize versus just go out and find out information and using systems to do that. Daniel said he doesn't think the delay is necessarily that they're not working on it, but they're gearing up for WWDC to provide, software pieces that will allow developers to integrate stuff with Apple Intelligence and to allow Apple Intelligence to be able to use the contextual stuff that people have on their phones or people have on their machines. So it's people who are screaming about it are generally not people who are brand loyal to Apple. It's people who, want to stir stuff up.
And, and the brand loyalty part, I mean, to me, that's just, okay, that's perspective as opposed to whatever the reality is. And the reality is that right now it's not good enough. It's either not working much at all or it's not good enough. And I tend to go with the reports that say it's not good enough for Apple to release, because inevitably it's going to be measured against the things that are out there already. In fact, I've heard a comparison the other day about, Amazon's A-Lady, the A-Lady Plus, or I think that's the correct designation. And it's like, you know what? We don't even have it in hand yet, and you're assuming that it's going to be great. Mm-hmm. Because every single thing that Amazon has ever tried, like the Fire Phone, has been really great.
Oh.
So
buying that phone.
Yeah. And look, Amazon has done some great things. There's no question they've done some really wonderful things with the A-Lady. But, until it's out there in people's hands, I'm not so sure.
Yeah.
I want to welcome Web Bixby to the panel. Web, it's good to see you.
Good evening. I hope audio is coming through okay.
You sound gorgeous.
I haven't bought a 16E. I'm still happy with my Mac Studio. What is that? The first Ultra, M1 Ultra. I'm still happy with that. If I need a compelling reason to buy one, I certainly can. I'm willing to help the economy any way that I can, but I still haven't bought my Apple Vision Pro yet.
Next
said
week.
about, you got the 16E, you said?
I have not.
Oh, okay.
No,
Yeah,
still
well-
got.
Well, don't worry. The way it's going, Marty's going to buy this stuff for all of us because he's,
Yeah.
Yeah.
he's.
Well, I heard they
he's-
got a big grant, from down in Florida or something like
as
that.
I refer to it as a worthless National Science Foundation grant. Because we know where all that's going, but that's politics. So let's stay out of that.
Eric, I want you to bring up what you just put in the chat because I've been thinking about this kind of all week.
Well, every once in a while, I think Apple engineers kind of get together and say, what are we expecting to get, and does it do it? And they went back and they looked at the old video from the Knowledge Navigator, which is, kind of how everything was going to work, where you walk into a room and your digital assistant is there in the room and can tell you somebody called and you make a meeting and all that kind of stuff. And I don't think we're there yet. So it's worth going back and rewatching the video because there are a lot of neat possibilities. It could be there, maybe, but not quite.
Eric, the reason I wanted you to bring it up because I was listening to a program this week about some of the attempts to make agentic AI, and the Knowledge Navigator popped to mind. I mean, that was agentic AI before anybody knew what agentic AI was. So you do have to wonder how high Apple is trying to aim before they will unleash theirs on the world, as opposed to some of the others that we've watched. They've sort of been beta testing themselves in public, sometimes with embarrassing results, sometimes with pretty impressive results, but it has not been a smooth process by any means. And Apple has quietly, if Jeff were here, he would tell us that, we've had Apple Intelligence for a long time in different products. It just wasn't called that. So I continue to be hopeful. And I, for one, I just want it to be right and good when it comes out. And if it takes a year, fine. If it takes 2 years, fine. I can make do with what I have available to me now. Anything else we should address on Apple Intelligence?
Well, I mean, there have been improvements. Like you can say something to the S lady and then make another comment, and it kind of continues, right? You can have more than one thing or more than one interaction. You can ask for a joke, get a joke, and be able to get another one, and it's not difficult. Interactions with the Apple Vision Pro, much more useful. Interactions in the car, it's not always, but when it works, it's much better than it was when it first started. So definitely improvements.
Yeah, I had a shock yesterday driving a colleague. We were going out for coffee, and I was like, oh, I'm going to impress him with my CarPlay. And there was a question that came up. So I asked the S lady. The S lady said, I don't know the answer to that. Would you like me to use ChatGPT? And I said, yes, crossing my fingers going, please work, please work, please work. And sure enough, it did. It came back. So, I mean, the integration to the CarPlay, then to, the S lady, then to ChatGPT, all of that was seamless. So yeah, things are getting better.
Okay, since you went there, let's just go with that for a minute. Is the integration with ChatGPT a mistake, or is it a great stopgap measure because they're partnering with what seems to be one of the best in the business right now? And boy, that right there could generate emails for me. So, everybody has their preference, but it's hard to deny that ChatGPT is right up there.
See, I think we continue to misrepresent or misthink about Apple Intelligence as something different than the other AI kind of components, or we're not thinking it as something different. Apple Intelligence is spent most to be, in my belief, is personally built into the personal context of the user. Anything else that's not related to the context of the user, that can be sent out to other AI systems to answer the questions. And that's basically where the other AI systems are right now. They're not building in personal context like Apple, and keeping it secure like Apple is trying to do. So it's a heavier lift for Apple, but it's a completely different product. And to me, it feels like the Meta Vision, the Meta headset comparison to the Apple Vision Pro headset. Completely different products, but people keep making that comparison.
Agreed. In the chat room, let's see, Barry said regarding the Knowledge Navigator, almost 40 years ago, they were living in the future we've not arrived at yet, which is really true. And then he says, I love Genmoji, which, okay.
Yeah.
I've played with Genmoji a little bit. I can't say that it really is something I have used for any real reason. Anybody here played with Genmoji?
Only to do really creepy stuff.
I'm afraid
Every time I use it, it puts hair on me. It's great.
Okay.
I got a
like
full
I
head of
said,
hair. It's
really
great.
creepy stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. Eric, go ahead.
Got you, didn't I?
It's kind of cool for like children's stories. For those of us who are really bad at drawing, you start a story, you write something out, and then you need kind of like a little illustration. And usually that late at night, I don't have access to an illustrator. So being able to say, oh, give me blah, 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 and then poof, you get something, plop it in the story, move along to the next little bit, and then you describe a thing and get the next picture, and then,
So what's wrong with this picture? Eric is using this to illustrate children's stories. Marty's using it for something creepy. and Webb is putting hair on himself. Okay. Eric, I do want you say again in our private chat. You said GPT is great because you can turn it off. Didn't think of that as quite as a feature. Why do you say it's great because you can turn it off?
Well, if you're working in a department, a business, whatever it is, where your stuff is supposed to be kept private and you're not supposed to send it out to anybody, being able to say, no, you can't use this, or choosing to turn it off so you can't accidentally use it, means that you're not sending a bunch of documents and a bunch of information out to ChatGPT to go who knows where. I like the fact that it's separate. Yes, it's got a lot of capabilities. It could do, quite a bit of stuff, but you also have the option not to use it. It's not so tightly integrated that you've got stuff flying out the door to a whole nother place without really realizing it. It's, so I really appreciate it's separated out enough that you can say no.
Hey, that's an interesting way to look at it, and a very realistic one too. Good point. Let's see, who was it? Barry said Eric thinks you're talking about Image Playgrounds as opposed to Genmoji.
You're right. Yeah.
Okay, so well, still you're illustrating children's stories. Marty's doing creepy things. I don't know.
Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with MacVoices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices, or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you Mac Voices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CacheFly at cachefly.com.